Mr. Klein's Story Time.
Hello, my name is Mr. Klein. I've been an elementary school teacher for almost 30 years, and I love reading stories to young people just like you. In fact, I've got a great story that I'd like to share with you right now. So let's get started.
The Best Four Questions by Rachel Burke. Illustrated by Melanie Florian. Passover is almost here, said Marcy excitedly. Yes, Daddy said. So let's clean up these breadcrumbs. And tomorrow night, Marcy, it will be your turn to ask the four questions at the seder. Hey, that's my job, said Jake. The youngest person at the seder gets to ask the four questions, Jake, said Daddy. Now that Marcy's learned to read, it's her turn to ask them. She'll mess it up, grumbled Jake. Marcy remembered her brother asking the four questions at the seder last year. The grown-ups all said they were proud of him. Marcy was sure she could do a great job with the four questions. After all, she knew a lot about questions. She asked them all the time. Why does that man have hair in his ears? Can I have a pet elephant? Are we there yet? Asking four questions on Passover would be easy, thought Marcy, and hers would be the best ones ever. I'll help you practice, said Mommy. But Marcy didn't want help. Can't I practice by myself? She asked. That's one question already. Marcy grinned and skipped off to her room. Mommy, she called a little later, should I wear my ruffled dress or the one with polka dots? Will Aunt Jessica be there? Can I bring my hamster? Do I need a sweater? Enough questions, said Mommy. It's time to get ready for the seder. But Marcy was getting ready. Can't you see I'm practicing my questions? She asked. At Grandma and Poppy's house, Marcy practiced more. Is that the seder plate? What's on it? Can I carry it to the table? Grandma handed her the beautiful seder plate and pointed to one of the little dishes. This is horseradish. We call it maror. And this is charoset, made with apples and nuts. And here's a bone, an egg, and a sprig of parsley. Poppy sat at the head of the table with a big cushy pillow on his chair. Daddy opened his Haggadah to begin the seder. Marcy wiggled in her seat, waiting for her big moment. Finally, it was time for the four questions. Poppy smiled. Are you ready, Marcy? How many matzo balls are in Grandma's chicken soup? Why does Uncle Benji always fall asleep during the seder? Are worms kosher for Passover? Is horseradish made from horses? Marcy beamed and looked around the table. Mommy's mouth dropped open. Grandma scratched her head. Poppy chuckled. What kind of questions are those? Asked Jake. You're supposed to ask the ones in the Haggadah. Marcy turned as red as the seder wine and sank into her chair. You know, said Poppy thoughtfully, I've always wondered how many matzo balls there are in Grandma's chicken soup. And if I know Jake's eating habits, added Daddy, we should probably find out if worms are kosher for Passover. Everyone took turns answering Marcy's excellent questions. There are 24 matzo balls in a pot of my chicken soup, said Grandma. Horseradish is a spicy vegetable, not part of a horse, said Aunt Jessica. Worms aren't kosher any time, said Mommy. Plus, they're just plain gross. And I do not fall asleep at the seder, huffed Uncle Benji, though sometimes I do rest my eyes a bit. Then Poppy said, maybe Marcy would like to read the four questions from the Haggadah now. Marcy looked down at the book. There were some awfully big words. Can Jake read them with me? Asked Marcy. That's another question, Jake said, but he grinned. They turned to the 4 questions page in the Haggadah and read together. Number 1. Why is this night different from all other nights? On other nights we eat bread or matzah. Why do we eat only matzah tonight? Number 2. On other nights we eat all kinds of vegetables. Why do we eat maror tonight? Number 3. On other nights we do not dip our foods. Why do we dip our foods twice tonight? Number 4. On other nights we eat our meals sitting any way we like. Why do we lean on pillows tonight? When Marcy looked up from the book, everyone was smiling. She felt very proud. Good job, said Poppy. Uncle Benji, would you please give us the answers to the 4 questions? But Uncle Benji was fast asleep. The end. See next 2 pages for more information about Passover. Answers to the 4 questions. The 4 questions are actually 4 parts of the single question, why is this night different from all other nights? Number 1. We eat matzah to remind us that when the Jews left slavery in Egypt, they had no time for their bread to rise. They took the dough on their journey and baked it into flat, hard crackers called matzah. Number 2. We eat maror, bitter horseradish, to remember the bitter and cruel way Pharaoh treated the Jewish people when they were slaves in Egypt. Number 3. We dip bitter herbs into charaset to remind us how hard the Israelite slaves worked making bricks for Pharaoh. The mixture of apple, nuts, and wine looks like the clay used to make bricks. We also dip parsley into salt water. The parsley reminds us that spring is here. The salt water reminds us of the tears of the Jewish slaves. Number 4. We lean on a pillow to be comfortable, which reminds us that once we were slaves, but now we are free. About Passover. Passover is a week-long holiday celebrated in the spring when we remember the exodus of the Jews from Egyptian slavery. The festival is ushered in with a seder, a festive meal of prayers, readings, songs, and the tasting of symbolic foods.
Thank you for coming to Storytime. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I read new stories every week, so be sure to hit the subscribe button if you'd like to hear another one. Hope to see you again soon.